Hello and welcome everybody. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these three jars here. Dough, Ray and me. And I'm going to propagate me some moss. So what I'm going to do is I've got three different sorts. I'm going to show you them here. I've got these long straggly jobbies here with the little pod capsules at the top. See the full moss there? Then I've got a little tiny one like this. Here she is, like so. Let's just light that up. There it is, which usually grows in rock. And then I've got this more tufty kind of one. Look at that boy there. Tufty, tufty, tufty. I'm going to use these three samples, and I'm going to use the old chop it up method, and I'm going to put these here into these jam jars, using stones on the bottom to help drainage, and some felt as the matting. And then I'm going to chop up the moss, what we see here's very small. And I'm going to actually chop the pore sac, or the spore sac of these jobbies. I'm going to chop these pod capsules up. And then with water, spread it over the felt and keep it moist and see if it grows or not. So that's the plan. So, let me see now. First of all, I'm going to use my trusty cutting mat. Cut me felt size, or jar size felt even. Here we go. Jar size felt. Cutting this here thingy-majigger here. Thingy-majigger-majigger. Can you seize that? Can you seize it? Can you seize it? Can you seize it? Can you seize it? Come on, everybody. Okay. That seems to be one done. Simples. Oops. Prove it. I'll prove it by bringing that over. Super. Okay. That'll go down in yonder on top of your stones. So I'm going to cut two more of those. Bada-bada. Bada-bada. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? You have to hold it pretty darn hard, otherwise it'll slip. The next thing, I'll be an A&E. So's I will. There's another one done. Prove it, he says. Ah. Okay, maybe not exactly. I'll have to do that one manually. Make sure my fingers are away from the blade. That's good. Last but not least, I'm just going to set that moss over here in the background. Last one. So I chose this felt because it's supposed to have good capillary action. What's that noise? Coming from my balcony. Okay, cut her down easy. Her heart is on the line. Cut her down. I'm sorry for putting my arm across you there. That's roughly correct, so we'll just finish that off with manual aid. As you can see, I was a dressmaker in another life, just through the accuracy of my material cutting. There we go, number 3, with scraggy bits at the edges, but those will be good. They'll fit on the edges, and using the magic of capillary action, that'll bring them up. Okay, now I'm going to go and get the stones, as they say. Everybody wants to get the stones. I have my bag here of river pebbles, stolen from bought from a river, possibly stolen and then sold to me. I could be in the possession of some stolen river pebbles. So, let's move that out of the way. Let's get rid of my mat, which I bought actually for doing Lord of the Rings figures back in the day. Okay, so it's nice sound in it. Ding, 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 ding. So don't need much. It's probably enough, isn't it? A little bit of felt along the. In she goes. In she goes. Using my, what do you call them? My Hujamith columns. Oh, come on. Okay, that seems fine. That's just to be a little moss bed for my moss samples. So I'll do 2 more of these. 1. Number 3. Oh, I'm dropping stolen river petals on my floor mat. That's a floor mat, by the way. Turned upside down. Right. Slipping her in. Slip her down easy. Her heart is on the line. Yep. Yawn yonder. And then Ian Anderson. Oh, come on. Simples. So this is not a terrarium. I'm not going to close these up because moss, I know some people like the idea of moss terrariums, but in my reading, moss needs air, prefers air. And also, it's pretty simple for me to just to spray these wee bad boys once in a while. The whole idea is not to keep it enclosed. And I don't want mold growing, which quite often happens in these scenarios. I'm not putting creatures in, like it's not putting springtails and all that carry on. So I'll just hide away my stolen river pebbles here in the safe. Just out here in the balcony. Coming back in. Now, I'm gonna have to wet these boils. Furstenberg. So this is the chlorinated water. And as you know with sprays, it never works at an angle. You always have to you always have to do it horizontally. So I'll just do these old ways here. This technique is what I call pouring water into a jar. So you have to get good at that if you're going to do this kind of shizzle. Look at that. Swill that around. Capillary reaction will wet all those bad boys eventually. Okay, so set those over there to acclimatize. No, just to get wet, really. Set these back here. Thank you very much. And then we shall cut up our mossy. Mossy, mossy, mossy. Right, now I want to use the samples, cleanly. I want to have clean samples for this science project. Let's start with let's not start with the dirty one. Let's start with these guys here. So these are the guys that were found upon the rocks. They were found upon rocks. So I'm gonna use them first. Furstenberg. So these are their food containers, and I'm gonna chop them up with my scissors. That's basically what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put a little bit of water. To hydrate. Oh, come on. I woke up the other day and actually had a sore hand from doing the spray. Just not so nice. Not so nice. I think I'm going to have another sore hand. Alright, okay, so I've sprayed her. She's a wee bit wet in the bottom there. Okay, so yeah, I just pretty much just plan to chop these all up. Is the idea, and see if I can grow my own. So, you know, just as you like it, really. Just chop her. I think some of the idea is that this will release spores, but I also think that maybe this happens through asexual reproduction, as in parts of the moss cloning themselves basically as new plants as they form new roots. You know, so I think that's what I imagine this is going to be. Okay, so just silk it down a wee bit. Just going to let that swingle around a wee bit without dropping them out, obviously. That's what I nearly did there. Okay. So, just realised I probably need a little paintbrush. My daughter actually had the paintbrushes that I was using, and I'm not sure if she gave me them back. Just checking in the drawers, the fun drawers here. The drawers of fun. Don't see the paintbrush. That's a bit quick. Okay. Don't see them. Right, so there's a little dungeness. Don't know, we close up there. Just put a wee bit of letter on there. It's a bit hard to focus. Yep, hard to focus. Okay, let's get out of that zoomage. Okay, now just gonna pop that down in there and then spread it around. I think is what I'm gonna do. That's good. This is natural moss, chopped up, soaked, put on a felt system. System's a grand word, isn't it? But I do know that there are commercial moss salesmen, commercially available moss that grows using a method similar to this. I think what they use is plastic sheets, then felt, then the moss chopped up, and then a tool or like a fine fabric like this, which you can sort of see, and then the moss grows through when it grows roots, goes through the tool and whatnot. But this is really just to see if I can propagate in these little jars some of the mosses that I find on my travels around the world that is my own square miles of life. Okay, so I've spread that around. We can possibly see how I've spreadiddled it around. Yeah, there you go. So I'm going to do that with the other two, basically. And then I'm just going to keep this moist and yeah, grow it really. See if it grows. So you can mark in your diaries, folks, I know you will. This is day one. Day one. Right, just going to clean this now. Decontaminate it, as they say. Right, next one. So the next one, I've got a squeaky chair. Did you hear that? So the next one, I'll do the long ones here. So these tend to grow obviously quite long and thin like this, and they're grown in clumps. that sort of grow up alongside each other. So I don't really. They obviously have some sort of stiffness in the stem, which is unlike normal mosses, if you like. They don't have wood as such, but they certainly have something that gives them a stiffness to make them sit so erect, like so. So that's interesting. But it also does seem to be that see the way it's kind of dead along there. It's I'll just use it against the black here so you can see better. This bit is potentially dead, and then this is where the chlorophyll still is there in the green. And then look at the size of that stalk. It's ginormous. It's pretty much saying, if we have any hope of escaping here into some other territory, we need a massive stalk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and take the spores out somehow out of that pod and put them in the water, and then swill them over the felt in this one here. This one, that's number 2. Okay, so let's get some chopping. Watery thingamajig. I'm literally just going to cut this poor thing in half here and see what happens. Can you see that? Well, you can see a bit. See if I can zoom in. Alright, let's see. Ready for moss. Sperm cells. If I get deep. Oops. That's the little. Ha! See that? There's the little. I forgot the name for it. Where's the C? Anyways. There's that. And then. What's the lefter? This little green doodad. Okay, so I'm going to cut that now. Okay. Now, spores are like micrometers, so it's really hard to tell. Now, there's not going to be anything in that bit of the plant, so we can get rid of that. But possibly if we cut up the leaves here, we may get some asexual germination. Right, next little feller. Same thing. Little spore cell. Boop, boop, spore doodad. Yeah, it's actually got a little hood on it. That's amazing. And then there's the spore doodad. Microscopically, we're probably releasing thousands and thousands of sperm cells from the moss. Thousands of little boys. Right, so let's see if we can. Tell you what, I'll try and pull it off with the tweezers live on camera. You ready? Here we go. Ready? Yo! Let's see. That way over there. Does that focus? Yes, it does. So that's a little hood. And then underneath is the actual pod capsule. Yeah. Come on, focus. There. See that? So that's what we're going to cut now. I really don't know whether these are, ripe or not. I mean, it looked dry to me, the actual, the top of it there, but then that was only the little hood. In some moss things, I think it's some of the sphagnum varieties, apparently what happens is the top that you saw there, it's actually quite bulbous. It's just like a circular top of sphagnum. It's quite funny. It's like a basketball, basically, except not as big. And it dries out a certain way, and then it goes into like a cylinder. And apparently, once it dries out, it creates pressure inside the little pod capsule. And on a certain time of the day when it's dry, you can actually hear the pop, which is cool. So that's cool. Okay, so now I've got my. I don't know how this one's going to go because there's sort of there's less shrubbery in this one. But at the same time, there's more moss. There should be more moss sperm. Probably need spraying here is going to actually make that worse. Whenever you're putting, whenever you are cooking chicken, you're not supposed to splash water on it because it constabulates the germs everywhere. Well, that's probably what I've just done with moss. Moss juice. Okay, I'm going to swirl that around a bit in the water. Put a wee bit more water in. I want that fully submerged. and we'll get her ready for location number 2. Location, location, location. Look at that little hood. Look at that little hood. It's cool. No way. I'll maybe look at that in the microscope later. I have a little microscope which is, it was fairly cheap. It's like $20, but occasionally it takes a good photo if you can line it up just right. So we got some moss juice here, and we're gonna just slip her down easy. Slip her down easy into this. I'll take it away so you can see, because I think the black does help. At least it helps me anyway. Okay, ready? Oh, come on. Get in there. Get in there, mate. Some little podulants. Podulants. Okay. I'm just going to sort of extrapolate that across the area of the mat. I'm quite excited about this. I might have to take a little bit of water out. Well, some of it will evaporate. But I'm quite excited about this. Look at that. There's two little mossariums. This is probably going to take weeks. Yeah, I would say it's going to take weeks. Right, last one. I'm just going to give that another spray outside. Okay, so back in 20 milliseconds or thereabouts. I'm just pre-watering this again. Okay, so the difference with this one, right? This boil, I like this one. I think it's nice. I like them all, but there's something about this one. I wonder, can we actually see? Oh yeah, we can. Oh, look at that. You know. See that one there, just right in the middle? Like, I think that's maybe what's called a splash sail, or a splash cup, which is a male plant. The idea is that the water splashes into that, releasing the sperm cells. Then they travel in the droplets that splash off it. Anywhere between, I think it's, in some species, up to 2 meters, depending on the velocity of the rain, I guess. So there you go. Let's see what else. But anyway, this one's got soil attached, and although not, mosses don't need soil per se, I am thinking of putting this in with soil, maybe just to create this acidity or whatever for this one. There's a reason why it seems to like this. So I'm going to chop it up with the soil, is what I'm saying to you. By the way, I've got a little light in this. Boom. Doesn't make too much difference there, does it? Just lights up my finger. By the way, do you notice I have a little bit of dirt in that nail? Anyway, right, so I'm going to chop this boil up in here. Right, let's be seeing you. Chop, chop, chop. Oh, a little stonage. Little Stonehenge. All sorts of conflabulate coming out there. I'm just going to zoom in there just so you can see the... Do this in slow mo, shouldn't it? That'd be funny. Slow-mo. The slow murder of the green moss. Which reminds me of a very funny G.K. Chesterton novel called Napoleon of Notting Hill, which, if you like G.K. Chesterton and you've never read it, just read the first chapter. It's hilarious about how we think things are going to get worse and worse, constantly worse and worse. Why did I say that? Oh yes, because there's a bit in it about the silent cry of the green animals. That's why. I think I'm actually quoting it. Okay, enough blabbering. We're just going to chop that a wee bit more. We're chopping it. Right, mix. More water. Same problem again. Wrong angle of attack. There's it now. Look at that. Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. Gonna mix it in so good. There's not a lot of soil, to be honest with you. Clearly I didn't put it all in there, but there's, you know, a little bit. I mean, the size of these moss guys, it's not like they need a whole pile. You know, it's the general. Well, I don't know what affects the acidity, how much quantity is required for that, and whether or not they will grow in the conditions of this here mat or not. But that's why we're here to experiment. So that's what science was invented for. So we could invent things and experiment. Right, in you go, plopper. Blip, blip, blip. Mixing it all around. Mixing it all around down the town. There's got a wee bit of a bulge in her. This here mat. Hey, Matt. I'm excited about this one as well. I'm excited about all of them, really. I've forgotten what that first one looks like in real life. In real life. So, that's us. We got this one, which has a little bit of soil with it, a little bit. This one with the spores, and these are the long ones, remember? And then this one here is the wee short ones that were actually attached to rocks. So, I'm going to look after these for the next few days. I'm not going to put anything on the top. I know some people, you can put cling film over and keep them in a sort of terrarium type environment. I think maybe if I have to go away for a few days, I will do that, but otherwise I'll just keep them moist and put rainwater or dechlorinated water in. So, thanks for watching. There's the thumb. Okay, so I thought I would show you inside each one of them. So there's number 1. That's number 1. There's this is number 3, I believe. And then this one was our, our long skinny boil. There's it there. And I should make a major correction. I kept saying sperm cells. That is completely wrong. Of course, it's already been fertilized. So this is spores. These are the spores that have already been fertilized. The sperm cells are released from the male plant that go into the female plant, which then grow the little stalk where the spores come from. So every time I said sperm cells, clearly I was just being some sort of teenager excited to say sperm cells, when really it's spores. So my apologies for my juvenility. But there's a nice shot of what we've been doing. And there's a little pod capsule cut up. Come on, capillary action, get into that felt there. Come on. Come on, water. Bye.